Hello there. Today I'm taking a look at a wine from Saint-Emilion in Bordeaux. This is the Chateau La Dominique 2021, and that's a Grand Cru Classé. There's been an estate on this site since 1690. The name La Dominique was first recorded in 1785, and it relates to the fact that the owner at that time had made their fortune in Dominica in the Caribbean. The wine was classified as a Grand Cru Classé in the 1955 classification of Saint-Emilion. It's a 29 hectare estate which sits near the boundary with Pomerol, and one of its near neighbours is Chateau Cheval Blanc. Cheval Blanc sits on what's called the Grave region of Saint-Emilion, not to be confused with the Grave region of Bordeaux. But it's an area where there is more gravel in the soils than is normal, and this area runs across into parts of Pomerol. Chateau La Dominique is on the edge of this, so it has some areas of gravelly clay soil, some areas of more sort of clay limestone, and some areas with sands and clay. The quality of the wines from the estates had declined somewhat when, in 1969, French industrialist Clement Fayat purchased the property, and he and his family have invested heavily in the vineyards and in the winery, and wine quality has improved notably. This particular vintage is 85% Merlot, with 13% of Cabernet Franc and a further 2% of Cabernet Sauvignon. The vines here are on average about 30 years old, so they're relatively mature, and plantings are somewhere in the region of 7,500 vines to the hectare. Picking went on with the Merlots being picked between the 29th of September and the 8th of October, and then the Cabernets being picked between the 6th and the 8th of October. In the winery, the practice is that fruit, juice and must is moved around by gravity wherever possible. So very gentle handling is adopted. Once the wines have arrived at the winery, they undergo a 12 to 24 hour cold soak. So the fruit will have been crushed and it's allowed pre-fermentation to sit to extract colours and aromas from the grape skins into the juice without the presence of alcohol, which once fermentation has started becomes quite a sort of a strong extractant. So this is taking more delicate notes out of the fruit. The fermentation goes on in stainless steel tanks in the shape of inverted cones, each one holding 75 hectolitres. At the end of the fermentation, the wine is aged for 14 months. Half of it goes into new French oak barriques. 10% is put into amphorae, and the remaining portion ages in older oak. I'll be interested to try this because I think the 2021 vintage is a vintage that's likely to be somewhat overlooked, given that it follows on from a trio of ripe vintages, 18, 19 and 20, and then is followed by the really quite impressive 22 vintage. 21 thus has a different style. I mean, this is only 13.5% alcohol. I'm expecting it to be a little leaner, more structured, and actually to have quite good acidity. There were all sorts of problems in 2021. There were frosts and there were issues with fungal infection. So the producers had to work really quite hard to produce a wine in the 21 vintage. But actually I think they've been quite successful and they've made some elegant wines. So I'm interested to see how this has worked out. Looking at it from the outset, you've got a deep, dark wine. It's a ruby red, it's virtually opaque, it's holding its colour well to the rim. Swirling it, given that it's only 13.5% alcohol, it's throwing some quite notable tears on the side of the glass. And they've actually got good colour, they're staining the glass there. So let's see what we make of the aroma, shall we? I have to say, when I nosed this earlier, it was quite earthy and unpleasant, but that aroma has dissipated, and now I'm getting quite a sort of a classic Saint-Emilion nose. There's really sort of ripe, dark plum notes, red plum through to a sort of riper damson and bullace note. There's also a freshness, it's just a tiny hint of leafiness, but not very much. And the oak seems very restrained as well. So let's have a taste. The wine starts with good freshness. there is a firm, fine tannic structure, and behind that there is a ripe plumminess. But the plumminess is not followed by the high alcohol that you might see in something like some of the wines from the 2020 vintage. Instead, that's allowing a licoricey richness to come out on the finish, a more sort of bitter licorice, not a sweet licorice. And that's there with red fruit notes, perhaps a touch of raspberry, but again, coming back to this lovely, fresh red plum. The structure is somewhat dominating the fruit at the moment. I'm not particularly seeing a lot of sort of cedriness. Yes, there's that texture of sort of drying, fine notes. There's perhaps a hint of cedar, but it's not very much to the fore. The flavours are lasting really well, and I think that's the nice acidity and the fact alcohol isn't overwhelming the fruit on the finish. As yet, this is a young wine, and I think it probably needs 2 or 3 years in bottle to smooth out and to allow those tannins to gain a little more elegance. But there's good grip, there's really lovely length, there's reasonable concentration. I should be interested to try some more of the 2021s because I think potentially at the right price this is going to offer some very classic, elegant drinking over the mid-term, perhaps up to 10 years of age. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this of interest. If you've enjoyed the tasting, do please press the like button. That would be much appreciated. If you have some friends who you think might be interested in watching, do please feel free to forward the video to them. That would be amazing. Also, we'd love it if you signed up to follow us on YouTube. It'd be great to have your support. Please feel free to leave any feedback you have in the comments box below. We would really like to know more about what you think about the wines we're doing, the tastings we're putting on, or anything else related to that. Most importantly though, I do hope you'll take some time and come and join us for another tasting in the near future. Thanks again. Bye for now.